And my scripture today is from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 16 through 18. Be joyful always, pray without ceasing, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God. And that ends the reading of our scripture. It's hard to believe Thanksgiving is only a week and a half away. Many of us have begun the preparations for our Thanksgiving feast, planning the holiday menu of savory foods and sweets. I always enjoy preparing for the holidays, digging out family recipes passed down through generations, and the aroma in the house, that aroma of cinnamon from a freshly baked apple pie. There's nothing like the aroma of turkey roasting in the oven on Thanksgiving Day. In the next week, some will be traveling on their journey to visit family and friends. The anticipation, the excitement of seeing those they haven't seen in a while, following traditions that we started when we were a child, from watching the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade to feasting on turkey and stuffing and sweet potato pie and sitting around the table reminiscing with those dear to us. Warm gatherings, laughter, and sharing time together. When I think of Thanksgiving, I feel a warmth deep within me. The warmth in our hearts and the warmth in our homes. We open our doors and our hearts to share this holiday with friends and family, sharing a piece of us, sharing the warmth of our love, good food, good company, and good conversation. Thanksgiving is a time to give thanks, and it is a time to share our abundance. It's twofold. It's an inward acknowledgement of gratitude as we reflect upon all that we have to be thankful for, the thanks of Thanksgiving. And it is also an outward celebration when we share our abundance with family, friends, and with those who are in need. The giving of Thanksgiving. And while we prepare for the holiday, we want to be mindful to carve out time to reflect on the spiritual aspect of Thanksgiving, the thanks, the law of gratitude, and the law of abundance. And these two laws intertwine with each other. The law of abundance states that there is an abundant supply and it is constantly flowing and producing sufficiently for every need or desire. And the law of gratitude activates the law of abundance. The more we give, the more we receive. And when we acknowledge and give thanks, regardless of whether we received what we asked for, the more that will flow to us. So by doing so, by showing gratitude, consciousness is aligned with this divine flow. And we are an open vessel to receiving more. Our scripture tells us, in everything, give thanks, for this is the will of God. The chapter of this year will soon come to a close. And it's a time to reflect upon what we have learned from life's lessons. And it's a time to give thanks, not only for the blessings, but also for the lessons. And I recognize the lessons may not always be easy. And situations may not always turn out as we had hoped. But still, we look for that kernel of good. Quoting from the Rolling Stones, which is a band that I grew up with, you can't always get what you want. But if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Sometimes the lessons and the blessings we receive may not always be what we sought. But if we look hard enough, we will find they were what we needed. We don't always understand the whys. But as we step back from a situation, it helps us to see it from a different perspective. And then it begins to make sense. Slowly, we can see the whys. As Reverend Randy spoke last week, our words and our thoughts are powerful. And these words and thoughts, they write the pages in our book. They can create our abundance or our lack. We have within us the power to create what we seek. And we get to decide what we want to keep and what we want to let go of. You see, we can keep the good. We can keep that one little kernel that we found, and we can let go of the rest. We can choose to hold on to the hurts and carry the disappointments. We can let them go and release them to God. I've learned that there are some things that aren't within our power to change. So how do we benefit from holding on to them? Most likely, we don't. Instead, we can figure out what is ours to change and choose what we want to keep and let go of the rest. A teacher told me years ago, We choose happiness. Happiness is a choice. And I think of that often. Each of us is the author of every chapter in our book of life. No one holds the pen but us. That is, unless we give it to them. Unless we give somebody our power. Within us is the power of the word to create the next chapter. We get to decide when to hit that delete or backspace button. And we get to decide what we want to save. A wise teacher taught me years ago to take the good from each situation and let the rest go. We can hit the delete or backspace button on the pain and the hurt and take from life's lesson what we learned and how it helped us grow. During meditation this week, meditate on what to keep and what to let go of as we close the chapter of this year, and to reflect upon all that we have to be grateful for, focusing on finding the morsel of good in every situation helps us make the most of what comes our way. Living in an attitude of gratitude. When we live in an attitude of gratitude, we are living in the divine flow, accepting and acknowledging our accomplishments as well as our lessons, understanding that all that happens is for our highest and greatest good. During the next 1.5 weeks, let us focus on gratitude. Each of us has been given a spiritual Thanksgiving basket, a basket to collect our gratitude. Each day, recount at least one thing you are grateful for, and add it to the basket. You can add as many things as you want. The more you add, the more your basket expands. And as we do this, our focus begins to shift towards everything that we are grateful for. And our eyes open even wider. All the good is surrounding us. Soon, our basket will be overflowing, and we will receive even more, because now we are in harmony with the law of abundance and the law of gratitude. When I work from home during the week, I wake up at 6 a.m. to go walking before I begin my workday. Now I have a choice. There are many mornings I'm going to let that alarm just turn it off and forget about it for another hour and sleep in. But I don't. I make myself get up and I go walking. And my walk in the morning is a meditation. And as I look around me, the fresh dew of the morning, I give thanks to God. I give thanks to God that I have this healthy physical body. So I'm able to do this. I change my perspective. I look at everything around me, the trees, the sky, everything that I have to be grateful for. And as I do, I forget about everything else. And I focus on the good in my life, starting my day in an attitude of gratitude flows through the rest of my day. And I want to share with you a story that really touched me that I watched on the Sunday news last week. They hosted a segment on the Japanese prisoner camps in the US. During World War II, the United States incarcerated over 120,000 Japanese Americans in remote camps around the western United States and Hawaii. They were in remote locations, and most of them were not the most favorable conditions. They lived in barracks, and some had no running water. Most of them lost their homes and all of their belongings. And they were hosting this for Veterans Day. And the interviewer spoke with the children and grandchildren of these internees. And the children and grandchildren had returned to the camp to play a game of baseball, just as their parents and grandparents had done many years ago. And I was deeply touched when one of the descendants said his mother told him that when they were in the camps, they turned to baseball, the American pastime, to bring them joy. They had a choice. They could choose to look at everything they lost. They could choose to live in the darkness of the situation. Or they could choose to find the light and create their own joy. They chose the light. They chose to make the most of the situation, to create their own joy. Most internees live there for 3 years. And during those 3 years, they created their own communities and culture, organizing schools, libraries, newspapers, and other institutions, surrounding themselves with music, playing baseball, and making the most of every day while they were there. It is inspiring to me to learn how they chose to find the light and not to see the darkness. We can allow the world to overcome us, or we can overcome the world, finding the blessing regardless of the circumstances and always being grateful. Thanksgiving is also a time of giving. When the pilgrims celebrated the holiday, they gathered together to share in the abundance of their harvest. In those days, it took hard manual labor to grow their crops. Their harvest had to last them through the winter and the spring. They didn't have the luxury of placing an online order to have their groceries delivered or calling Uber Eats when they were hungry. They toiled for long days in the fields while they had the daylight. And from this, from all of their hard work, each contributed from their harvest for this great feast. They gave of themselves. There are many ways to give. We can give physically, monetarily, spiritually. We can bring joy or light to a situation. We can send healing. What of yourself are you contributing to this holiday feast? In the fall, we begin to feel a shift in the energy, transitioning from manifesting and creating to giving, sharing, and enjoying. We give throughout the year, but more people are focused on giving during Thanksgiving and Christmas. The holidays are an opportunity for us to take time from our busy schedule to give, to share, and to enjoy. Breaking bread at the dinner table and sharing life stories with those near and dear to us. The winds of winter may be nipping at our heels, but there's a warm glow in our homes and in our hearts. The warmth of sharing love, sharing laughter and joy, sharing our favorite dishes. This is the holiday of Thanksgiving. Thanks and giving. As the leaves fall and the seasons change, it is time to enjoy our bountiful harvest and share it with family and friends. To be grateful, to share the warmth of our love and enjoy the joyful moments. God has provided all we need to create our own abundance. As we live in the flow, as we live in harmony with the law of abundance and the law of gratitude, the more we give, the more we receive. Many blessings to you and your family this Thanksgiving holiday. Be joyful always. Pray without ceasing. In everything give thanks, for this is the will of God. Namaste.